astute viewers may have already been able to piece together what this week's video was going to be, because last time I was wearing my green Joker t-shirt, which was intentional foreshadowing, so if you managed to connect those dots, well done you. But of course we are talking Joker today, which was directed by Todd Phillips, who shares writing credits with Scott Silvers, and stars Joaquin Phoenix, Francis Conroy, Robert De Niro, and Zazie Beetz. And this was one of those that people were warning me, or people were scared, should I say really, of me watching it, because I might get ideas. At which point I was kind of like, thanks for, not believing in all the progress I've made sort of psychiatrically over the time you've known me, but I can get it, because to the wrong mindset, this film is a clarion call to action. It is an invitation to overthrow the status quo that doesn't help those in need. But this is one of those that has strangely become sort of divisive. Critics tended to love it quite a lot, the artistic style of it, but there are some audience who find it a little too, up its own behind with the artiness and the dancing and things like that. They feel that it's almost like you attached the Joker name so that you would get more attention. And I don't know if that's true. While Todd Phillips was adamant that he didn't want to put any Easter eggs or links to the wider DC universe in this, it is meant to stand alone, and it isn't meant to be every 5 minutes look at this reference. It's not meant to take you out. The only confirmed one is the slide down the pole. That's it. Its design and its implementation clearly fits the model well, and I don't think it was let's insert a known character in to make it work. Now, I might be wrong. They might be hiding it and just going, well, it's the only way we're going to get it made, because otherwise no one would see it. And, it could have been an entirely different film about a mentally ill person who, just snaps. But one of the core tenets of the Joker's character is the idea of one bad day. This is mentioned throughout, various media featuring the guy, that all it takes is one bad day for someone who is maybe even barely functional to become homicidal. And I think that's very reductive, I will say that now. I don't think just one incident is enough for most people to turn. And this is also shown. Whenever he uses this idea, it's often shown that that's not the case. You have to have some kind of makeup that makes that one bad day much worse. Some kind of histrionic type, personality disorder might be enough. But you'd have to be pretty severe on that scale. And we do see that Arthur is severe with various psychoses and mental illnesses, but I do wonder if some of that is caused from abuse. We learn in the film that he was abused as a child, and that can create a lot of mental scarring. When people say, oh, it's, if it's not physical, is it real? Well, yes. PTSD is real, we now understand that. We used to call it shell-shocked. Before that we called it cowardice, and we'd shoot people. So there is clearly something deep in his mind that is fractured. And I think this is the gateway. He needed just a push, a tiny, tiny push, and he became what he became. One of the great things I loved about this film, and it really freaked me out when I watched it, was the idea that we are in an unreliable narrator scenario. There's so many things that might not be true. Apparently the 11:11s on the clock is not meant to be taken as a sign of anything, but I wonder if that's a misdirect, because Todd Phillips did reluctantly agree to the Easter egg. So maybe he doesn't want to agree that the 11:11 was an idea that if we see that clock, it's not real. So him shooting Murray was real, because the time was different then. But anything else could all be in the therapy session where the clock is also 11:11. I don't think it's like people have associated the numerology idea to it. That I don't agree with. But I do think that it's just a random time chosen, but if the clocks are reading that, it's probably not real. But the thing that freaked me out with all this, I'd watched the Twilight Zone revival, and I'd watched the last episodes, whereby Zazie Beetz plays a character called Sophie who kind of stops being real and people don't interact with her. She's not really there anymore because she's passed over and she's inducted, if you will, into the Twilight Zone. So then I watched Joker, where Zazie Beetz plays a character called Sophie who some of the things she does are not real, and that really freaked me out, as well as the fact that Randall was also in an earlier episode as the cop who's chasing them down. But this was, a really creepy moment for me, but I loved it. I love the idea that we see these things, and if you think about it, this woman just out of nowhere just going, hey, yeah, maybe this guy in the clown mask was right. All these kind of things just really supporting him when she's not really had interactions with him before. We didn't have a sort of prolonged getting to know you. She was immediately on side. And the fact that she conveniently had babysitters constantly, because we know she has a child. But that reveal was kind of, oh wait, I think it's a testament to how the film's crafted, that I was drawn into it and I didn't even think that this couldn't be real until the reveal. And I was like, okay, what is going on here? Everything is now out of the window. Everything I know or knew is no longer true. Can I believe anything else in this film? And I supposed, I sort of put forth the idea that anything that can be externally verifiable by, at least, say, 5 to 10 other people is probably true. So the shooting of Murray, true. His mother going to hospital, true. The hospital staff, police, everything like that, all the other people in the street. But anything else with few to no witnesses could all be in his head. Every piece of it. When you start to look at the film that way, you start to really get into Arthur's mindset. I found the second viewing to take notes was a lot more informative to what I wanted to say. I knew I wanted to cover it because it's me. It's a film that I would love for various reasons. So I knew I wanted to talk about it, but I didn't know what the hook would be, really, for 100% the first time. But the second time, everything was cemented. And, a lot of people, there is the message of this is what happens when a mentally ill person is failed by the society that's meant to support them. There's the old phrase, which I'm probably going to butcher, but, that a society is only as strong as its weakest member. And we're seeing that still today. Mental health services around the world, as far as I'm aware, are generally poor. There may be countries that stand out, but they're the exceptions, not the rule. And that's problematic, because if we nurture, if we support these people, myself included, I'm in that bracket. If we nurture and support these people, they can be more productive, more helpful, and better members of society. Whilst I may not agree with a lot of society's rules and regulations, the idea that we can all band together and help and bring everyone up to a level where everyone can function and do what they wish, sort of actualising the potential, if you will, of all of these people, it will be better for everyone. If we don't, this is where we end up with Arthur Fleck's. This is where we end up with mass shootings. People try and blame everything but the mental health system for these. And this is the problem that this film is shining a light on. This turns that mirror back and says, this is what you've done. This is historical. People were going through this, and it's still not better. Make it better. That's what I think we're meant to take away from this film. But film is always open to interpretation, of course. But that's what I think. I think we're meant to say, this isn't right. Let's stir up the hornet's nest. Let's change this. Let's support the people who need it better. Let's make it affordable to get the treatment they need. And that'd be much better for everyone. But there was a realisation that I want to finish with. And the dancing. It's, again, one of the most divisive things of the entire film. Some people think, why? What the heck's going on? But I've cracked the code. I really hope I have. And if anyone manages to put this in front of Todd Phillips, and he confirms it, I'll be the happiest person alive. The first real dance that we see is in a moment of extreme distress. He's just killed 3 people. And he goes into the toilet and he's doing this slow, controlled dance with some beautiful, simple, minimalist music. Right up my alley. But it's a form of control. He's a very physical person, as we see through, the clowning and things like that. Dancing is important to him. And one of the things that you learn with any kind of, sort of outburst-based mental illness is control. You have to learn when you feel the tension, control it. Make it, if not productive, at least not harmful, if you can. And when we see him in times of distress, the dancing is very slow, methodical, careful, very beautiful. It shows off his sinewy figure. But when the Joker persona, if you will, is taking over, that's when the dancing becomes more aggressive, more carnal. He's got a lot of the pelvic thrust going on in that, That's the Joker moment. That's not controlled dancing. That's just feeling something and going for it. Which, outside of this context, is also a great, thing for dancing. But in this context, it's a sign that things are bad. That the Joker persona is taking over. And we even see a moment of controlled dancing before he comes out on Murray, because that's Arthur's frailty, if you will, his fragility, coming forward and saying, oh my God, I'm going to be on TV. I'm scared. I need to take control. As soon as the curtains open, Joker takes over though. So yeah, the dancing actually is an intrinsic part of his character and the plot. That's my belief. And I really think that it is there to signify to us, even towards the end. There's a touch of Arthur in there trying to hold on before this Joker persona really takes hold. But yeah, it's a lot heavier and darker than I wanted to go. But that's why I did The Good Place last time. I said in that, you earn the darkness through the comedy. So I hope I've earned this. Next time I'll try and find something fairly light. I think we need a palate cleanser before I delve back into something dark, I'm sure. So thank you for watching my thoughts on Joker, and as always, take care.